to another Pirates Chess video. Today, I thought we would do something a little different. Today, I'm actually going to show you a video, like a previous chess game that I played later in the day. It was very good. It was definitely one of my better games. I only had 2 blunders in the whole game, and they kind of worked out in my favor. Now, really, it should be noted that I think the only reason that I did so well in this game, even with my blunders, is that my opponent made mistakes and also blundered, giving me the opportunity to win and checkmate. As you'll see in the game analysis, had he had done different options, it definitely would have been a totally different game and probably gone in his favor. So, let's get started. So it's Alekhine defense, Mokele, Mbembe. Yeah, so I started with e4, and then he went f6, which makes it the Alekhine defense. Okay, so because he went f6, I just pushed my center pawn, forcing his knight to move. Makes sense. If he doesn't move his knight, then I'm just going to take, and now he's down a piece, like a minor piece. Right. I went e4 to begin with to either go like a Vienna or a King's Gambit, or a Vienna into a delayed King's Gambit, which are 2 openings that I really like for white. So I push the pawn, get his knight out of the way. He moves the pawn. I just develop a piece defending my center pawn because he's so far stretched, right? Like I gotta defend him somehow. The other option, like I could have pushed my D pawn up 2 squares. But I figured getting a developed piece out just because it's such a weird kind of opening already. So that's where you get the Mokele Mbembe variation. Okay, he pushes a pawn. That doesn't really matter to me. It opens up his queen to go h4, but he can't actually go h4 because of my knight. I bring my queen out, attacking his knight. He defends his knight, and I just put more attackers on his knight, right? Because I just want the knight gone. It's kind of like annoying, him being there, especially like because he could sacrifice his knight and take f2, forcing like had I not have moved my queen, which is one of the reasons why I did move it, because it defends both pawns on either side of the e square. Had I not have moved my queen, if he went to f2, then I would have had to take with my king, stopping me from castling. If he went to the d square, then I could have just taken with my bishop. Right, so he moves the knight back, and I was like, oh man, his mistake. He moved the knight back. I'm gonna push the d pawn up. Boom, and he's gonna have to like send his knight somewhere where it doesn't even bother me. Sneaky man. This guy's very sneaky. I push the d pawn up. He brings the knight back. Now, now my pawn is just kind of like weirdly placed. Still defended by the knight. But now his knight's still a problem, and I have 1 less attacker, right? I can't take with my queen now, because then he'll just take my queen with his pawn. So that doesn't help. So I bring the bishop out. This is my first blunder of the game. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. Because my bishop will be defended by my knight. Forgetting that his knight can also attack that square, and his queen can attack that square, right? So this is where it could have went very badly for me. Because basically, if he takes with the knight, I don't have to take with my knight. I could move my knight somewhere else, but it's just inconvenient, right? If I take with the knight, then he takes with his queen, and it's just we're down the exchange, and then his queen's in a position that's gonna threaten me, and it's just not pleasant, right? So that's my first blunder of the game. However, it worked in my favor because he did not take my bishop. Thinking, I guess he didn't realize his knight could take, and then my knight, and then his queen, or like he didn't want to risk any pieces. So he just pushed his center pawn, defending his queen from the attack of my bishop and attacking my bishop. Okay. So I'm obviously just going to move my bishop back, which I did, still threatening, pinning the pawn to the queen. He moves his pawn up, forcing my bishop back again, and preventing me from taking, I can't take his pawn with my knight, obviously, because there's too many defenders. So I gotta bring my bishop back again. So this is costing me a lot of moves, a lot of seni pawns, whatever they're called, right? Because I just gotta keep moving the same piece over and over again, so it doesn't really work in my favor. Okay, he brings his knight out, attacking my pawn. This is the second blunder of the game. Now, my reasoning behind this was he can take my pawn with his newly developed knight. That's fine. I'll just take with my knight. I don't see any issues with that. It doesn't really leave anything unguarded. My knight's not really defending anything, except for I guess my center pawn on the E square that he could take with his pawn. So that's why this is a blunder, because it doesn't really improve my situation. Now, my whole reasoning behind moving this A pawn is because this dark squared bishop has a open file. And I've run into this a few times while playing games where people will send their dark squared or their light squared bishop all the way out to the B4. Yeah, B4 or G4 squares, pinning my knight or my pawn to my queen or king when they're in that position, right? So this is, I did this move purely to stop him from bringing his dark squared bishop out and giving me a check on my king, because I haven't castled yet. Which is also a reason why you want to, if possible, castle early. To prevent anything like this. So this is the second blunder of the game, which he could have punished me for, but he didn't. So he just pushed a random pawn, which is also a blunder for him. Not exactly sure why he wants to push this pawn. Maybe to start attacking on that side with this pawn. So I bring my knight out. I did this to attack his knight or his pawn, because I really want his knight gone, right? So I'm 100% okay sacking something to get rid of his knight. So in this case, I can't really sack my knight for his pawn, because then he could take with the queen or his other pawn, and then it still prevents me from taking his knight, right? He brings his bishop out, attacking my queen. So I just take. So that was his other blunder. And this is where the game starts leaning heavily in my favor, because he sacrificed the bishop for not really any good reason other than to make a fake threat on my queen. Now, some people might freak and be like, oh no, my queen is under attack, and then move them somewhere. Maybe that's what he was hoping for, but I got it. So he moves G4. I move my bishop up, pinning his knight to his king. Now he cannot take my center pawns with his knight. He moves his queen down, defending his knight. Okay. I move my queen up because now there's basically a free rook or some free pawns. I can also take his knight with my bishop, forcing him to possibly take with his queen or forcing him to move his queen. Either way, that exchange is good for me, right? So let's draw this out. Arrows. So there's no move that he can do that defends. Really, like basically these pieces in the corner are hanging, kind of like no matter what he does, right? So like I could take with the bishop. He takes with his queen. I take with my queen, and then after I take with my queen, it gives him a check, so he has to move his king, and then I get the rook in the corner, right? And then from there, I just gobble everything up. Now I could take. Where is my arrow? All right, I could take with my bishop. He could do something like move his queen back up, and it defends the rook. It defends his pawn. I can't take his other pawn. I can't take his middle pawn, and it's a little more in his face. Actually, I shouldn't even be saying that because he definitely can't do that once I take his knight. I think he's actually forced to take with his queen because once I take his knight, his queen is stuck on his king. So he would have to move his king first, and then it's just he would have to move his king first, and then it's a free queen, basically. Unless he moves his rook over, threatening my queen. Which, it'd be like, so like I take, he moves his king down. Does that even work? Yeah, I take, he moves his king down. And then I guess like I could take with his, I could take again, and he takes my bishop. So yeah, I think either way, he's not doing super well in this position, right? I'm like seeing things, but they're not actually there. So I think in this position, he's just straight up. There's just no hope. So moving forward, he took my knight for some reason. I wouldn't say it's like a free knight. I would definitely try to do something with the threat in the corner here if he could. Like, I don't really know what he could do. Can he move his knight anywhere that like defends? Yeah, there's really nothing he can do for the corner. Like he could move his knight, like threatening my queen, but that's just kind of like a stopgap situation. Because then I would just take the rook, giving him a check. And then he can move the queen up. But I would take his knight, giving him another check, and then probably just get a free queen. Yeah. So he took my knight, and then I just went with my original plan. So take the rook, give him a check. He moves king down. I take his knight. He moved his queen up, looking for a trade of queens. And if I take his queen, then he takes with his king, right? So I found this great move. I sat and thought for a while. I was going to do the trade of queens because I really didn't know what else to do aside from like I could move my queen down and take a free pawn, right, and save my queen. But I was like, I kind of want to like figure out how to end this. So I was like looking around, and then I found that I could take a check or give him a check with my knight, like sacking my knight, giving him a check. And this was kind of, I want to say like, it's not, it doesn't say like it's a mistake or an inaccuracy on his part moving his king over, but he definitely could have taken, he could have taken with his pawn, leaving his king where it is, and then I would have the choice. Like I would have to either take the pawn down or take this pawn now, right? Because I don't get his queen. So there's definitely other options I have. I think if I was in his position, I probably would have taken the knight. Maybe moving the queen or moving the king is the best option. Because like if he takes my knight, I take with the bishop, and then I also take his other knights once here, right? Like I would just move over. So maybe moving the king's the best option. But moving the king also hangs the queen, right? So he moves the queen, or moves the king, I take his queen. Now, his best line here is to move the bishop down, giving me a check. And this is kind of like one of those turning points in the game where had he have seen this, right? He moves his bishop down. He moves his bishop down, giving me a check on my queen, or giving me a check on my king. I would have to either block or move my king in one of these directions, right? And now his rook gets my queen. So that is not good. I think I may be still in like in a winning position. Oh, I don't know what happened. The screen's going all wonky. I think like in this position, I could probably still win. It would just be a little harder, right, with my queen down, but he missed that. Had he had actually done that, it would have been a totally different game. Okay? So, he takes my knight now. And instead of moving, so the best move here, it says, is bishop takes pawn, giving him a check. And I kind of played through the line, and I mean, I guess it is the best. It's still hard fought for the checkmate going through their little line here. So I took the pawn, the free pawn, giving him a check on his king. He moved his king the wrong way. He should have moved to g6, protecting his king on the other side of his pawn. And it would prevent me from taking, right? But he moved his pawn inwards. So I gave him a check. He's unable to take my queen because of my bishop. And that's checkmate. And I also thought for a little bit here, because I almost took his pawn with my bishop, giving him a check, but then he just would have taken my bishop with my king. So I kind of looked at it for like probably like a couple seconds, a minute or so, and then I realized, and I was trying to figure out like where I could go with my queen, and then yeah, so that was check. And I'll show you the line up here. Is it? I think it's this one. Yeah. So bishop takes pawn. Okay, check. King moves over. Check. King moves over. I take his knight. He gives me a check. I take his bishop. He moves down. I give him another check. And he moves up. Check. Moves up. Check. And then that would be checkmate. there's nowhere he could go. So that's definitely the best sequence. So I got lucky with this checkmate, 100%. Because had he have gone the other way, trying to get the checkmate after this is like I played through it, and it's a little more awkward trying to get the checkmate after I take this pawn, because the sequence is a little off because I didn't check him with my bishop first. But you can still get it. It's just a little weird. So I hope you guys liked the breakdown of this game that I played. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what I could have done better or what I should have done. So yeah, if you have any comments, leave them down in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on Instagram and Twitter. The links for all of that will be in the details of this video. So stay happy and see you next time.